Hello, TubeBuddies, and welcome to this in-depth training on impressions and click-through rate here on YouTube. Whether you're watching with me live or you're here watching the replay, later on there will be timestamps. So if there's any bits of information that you want to go back to after the stream, it'll be timestamped in the description down below. That being said, if you are watching live, I have a quick question for you. Right now, if you look in your YouTube analytics, what is your current amount of impressions and what is your click-through rate? So let me know in the live chat, what are your impressions click-through rate? This is going to be very in-depth. We're going to go really deep into YouTube analytics, but I am excited to be here live with all of you. I see a lot of familiar people. I see Ethan Huskinson, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, says around 5% good CTR. 5% is in the middle of average, but don't worry, we're going to be talking about that later on. So really excited to see what all we are going to be discussing. Really excited just to get started here in the live here. So I'm going to share my screen to a familiar place so you all can see right here, YouTube. So I'm seeing some people's coming in, 10.9 million impressions, 8.4 CTR. That's really, really good. Curious to see, everyone has different. Someone saying impressions is 40,300, CTR is 7.8%. Not bad, not bad. We're seeing a bunch of different numbers come in. I see from Eat More Vegans, Carnivore Barbecue, 334,526 impressions and 6.1% last 28 days. The reason I wanted to start with what is your impressions click-through rate is because we need to go first have an understanding and break that down. If you do not know what impressions are or what even click-through rate is, do not worry, we're going to cover that. First, to start this discussion, it's important to note that you need to have content on the channel and you need to have it be, if you are starting today, this can still be important for you, but you may not have impressions click-through rate if you just uploaded your first time today. But this lesson is incredibly valuable to anyone who's been doing YouTube, whether it's for a week or whether it's been for years. So to get started, I want to focus on just looking at our analytics on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and use TubeBuddy. I'm going to zoom in so it's a little easier for you all to see. I'm going to click on the TubeBuddy drop-down menu, and I want to immediately go to analytics. While that is happening, I see a lot of people saying hi. I'm seeing some more click-through rates, see some of the moderators. Ike, thank you so much for all your help. But here we are in YouTube analytics, and let us zoom in once again. So if you're new to analytics, it can seem daunting and overwhelming. Do not worry. What we're going to be focusing on today is some very simple stuff in the Reach tab here. So earlier I asked, what is an impression? So impressions are where I see a lot of people getting confused. I see so many people share their click-through rate, which is important, but it's one part of the puzzle, one part of the story. If we look on screen here, we see that YouTube breaks it down as impressions over here, and then impressions click-through rate. So you can't have just the click-through rate without the number of impressions. So what is an impression? YouTube tells us, YouTube tells us to restate what is an impression. Well, if we hover here, impressions, how many times your video thumbnails were shown to viewers. This includes only impressions on YouTube, not on external websites. So let's break down, what does that mean? An impression is when your video's thumbnail is shown on screen for at least a second or more to a viewer. That counts as an impression. This can be when you're on your phone, your TV, your desktop, wherever you're watching YouTube. What that means is someone saw your video's thumbnail for at least a second. I see people get so confused on what impressions are that they tend to forget that it is so important that before you even get views, you need to earn impressions. You need to have your stuff be seen. This is why we try to teach SEO, also known as search engine optimization. When you're ranking in search results, you're guaranteed impressions if people are searching for that topic. So impressions are part of the story. The rate comes in is understanding that, okay, if impressions are when people see your content, then the click-through rate, what is that? Luckily, if you hover over, YouTube has a very good explanation here. Views per impression shown. This measures how often viewers watched a video after seeing an impression. One of the biggest mistakes I see new creators focusing on is click-through rate. They're like, I want a high click-through rate. It's the only thing that matters. And that's half the story. You can get a 100% click-through rate. It's true. I've seen it happen many times. Later on in this demo, we might witness a few 100% click-through rates. But here's the thing. If you have one impression and 100% click-through rate, that means YouTube, when it showed that video to that one person, they happened to click through, reaching that 100%. So while click-through rate is important, without impressions, it really is only half the story. So far, I see from Fat Don't Talk saying, very informative. Thank you. We're seeing a lot of hello there. Hopefully this is making sense to everyone. Let me know, did you know what impressions are, or do you have a better understanding? I see from Inside the Lab PC Tech saying 100% click-through rate would be insane. You think that, but I've seen it before, and it's making sure that you don't get overzealous. You want to make sure you're getting impressions. Now that we have a better understanding of impressions click-through rate, this is where I want to teach us how to dive deep, right? So in YouTube analytics, if we are to change the data point, let's say, you want to see how you did in 2020, last year. Let's say you have a whole year's worth of data. You can click that. What I tend to say, if you're wanting to see more immediate results, or you're wanting to, while this is loading, if you want to see quicker results for more immediate impact, you can go to 7 days. You can choose how much data you want. I do think that, if you change it too much, it can sometimes give you skewed data. So what I try to do is go for a longer period of time. Usually I'll go for the previous month if I'm checking my analytics. And if we look at TubeBuddy here, again, we're not shy. We're not going to hide anything. One thing I will say is this is really good that our impressions are up. So what this means, when you see that your impressions are up, and I need to stress this, impressions are when people see your content. So impressions can come from a lot of places. Earlier, I said search and discovery, which is when someone searches on YouTube. Another way that people can get impressions is through the YouTube homepage. So if we are to go over here, this is a great example. I love talking about it. So if we just go to YouTube right now, all of these videos on this homepage are getting an impression from us while we're watching, because here's the thing. We're staying on for a second. We're looking at all the different topics. So YouTube is thinking, okay, this person could have watched any piece of this content. So when your impressions are up, that's a good sign. However, ideally, you want your click-through rate to be in the average range. Now, someone earlier in this chat said that a good click-through rate is 5%. Well, what is a good click-through rate? Well, if we hover over here, a lot of people ask where YouTubers get this data. If you want to know, you can click here, learn more, impressions click-through rate. And I'll quote YouTube here, right? It says half of all channels that half of all channels and videos on YouTube have impressions click-through rate that can range between 2 to 10%. If you're at that 5% click-through rate, you're in the middle of average. 7 to 10% is on the higher range of the average. Anything above 10%, well, then you're above average. So I see a comment here from Kamalesh Senva. How do you grow subscribers? Well, if no one is clicking through, no one is getting shown your content, which is what an impression is when your content is surfaced, then you're not going to grow because there's no one seeing your content, right? So now that we understand that the average click-through rate is between 2 to 10%, I want to keep going deeper. We've explained what impressions are. We've explained what a click-through rate is. An impressions click-through rate, again, for those who may not know, is when someone sees your video thumbnail and decides to click through. Your title is included, but again, just for simplicity, when someone sees your video, title and thumbnail, they decide to click through, that's your impressions click-through rate. So as you can see here at TubeBuddy, you might be wondering, well, you have 2.3 million impressions, but your views are 254,000, but it says your impressions click-through rate is 2.3%. Now, if you do the math, the views to the impressions click-through rate may not make the most sense. Now, this question I see all the time, and it's what is the best CTR? Again, if average is 2 to 10%, you want to first try to be in the average range. Then you want to shoot to be above average. So the best CTR is a high amount of impressions matched with a good amount of people clicking through. It's not a, well, if I just put a 100 is my CTR, 100%, I have a great CTR. No, because as we explained, you can hit 100% click-through rate and only one person was shown the video. So as we continue diving deeper, now I want to show you looking by impressions click-through rate. So now we know impressions click-through rate. Big deal, Andrew. What does this mean for me? I'm a creative. I'm not a math whiz. Trust me, I understand this frustration. A lot of times we just see this data and it's like, okay, I know impressions matter. I know impressions click-through rate matter, but how can I improve it? Or how do I even know if this, where the people are coming from? This is where I want to show you how you can tell where your audience is coming from. So we're going to go, you click on reach, impressions click-through rate, and then I want you to click on see more. Now I hope and I implore you to, if you can, follow along, because this is going to be different for everyone watching, and understanding this information helps you know how to grow, helps you know where to even improve your click-through rate, right? So I implore you to follow along if you aren't. I see back from Laid Back Living, as we're here, never knew about CTR average. Thanks. So here we are in our videos page. Here, down here, we can see some more interesting information. We can see impressions. We can see impressions click-through rate. We can see the views. We can see the watch hours and the unique viewers. One thing I want to just show is that YouTube, you can see which videos have a high click-through rate, right? So uncover YouTube stats as a 10% click-through rate. The way your click-through rate on the reach tab is calculated is by taking all of your videos click-through rates and combining them for an average, right? So this out here, this impressions click-through rate right here is averaged of all of your videos' individual click-through rates. So I see from Dan Forst, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, where we go again, you go to YouTube Analytics, you go to reach. Once you're there, you'll click on impressions click-through rate and then see more. So again, understanding that this right here is just a sum of the averages of all your click-through rate, you actually may have a higher click-through rate for individual videos. So if we click on see more, what we'll see is some of our videos have a 10.6% click-through rate. And as we learned earlier, that's above the average, which is the 2 to 10%. Hey, I'll take a 0.6 above average here. So that's really important. So I see from St. Grizz Replays, if you release more videos, does this have a negative effect on potential subscriber? Or if videos are released too close together, does this have an effect on potential subscribers? It all depends on what videos you released, right? TubeBuddy is teaching you how to grow on YouTube. But if I upload a video said how water bottle review, you would probably be like, what does this have to do about click-through rate? What does this have to do about TubeBuddy? It all depends on the content you upload. So potentially, yes, depending the content you release. However, looking here, understanding that this is an average lets you know, hey, what thumbnails are performing well? What videos are doing a great job with impressions? Now, if you notice, some of these may have high click-through rates with low impressions. So what you need to remember is, while this is a 10% click-through rate, the amount of impressions considerably is low. So when you look here, right, YouTube showed get more views by welcoming new subscribers with TubeBuddy. So this is 527 impressions. That's a 9.5% click-through rate. That only means about 63 views. So while the click-through rate looks impressive, it may not be leading the views you want because it doesn't have that many impressions. And this is why it is so important to understand those impressions. Now, you might be saying, okay, impressions are important. Well, if we click on the impressions, like I just did, what you can do is see which videos have the most impression and what their click-through rate is, right? Now here, right, earned views in YouTube 2021, 197,000 impressions. And again, that's how many people YouTube has shown this piece of content to. When you see impression, when you hear it, that's how many times YouTube has shown a piece of your content to a viewer, right? So when you understand that an impression is YouTube surfacing your content, then you understand that, hey, why do I have low views? Well, how many impressions did you get? What is your impressions click-through rate? Because when you have low impressions, then YouTube has tried showing it to people, but the click-through rate might be bad. There may not be that much interest in the packaging. And making changes, which we will discuss later, can really help in terms of getting videos more views, because a bad thumbnail can be what is holding your content back. I have seen videos with great watch time and the little bit of views they have, but the thumbnail click-through rate is 0.2%, 0.3. It's not even on the average. So understand, you may have a great video that is being held back. Now, what determines a great video? If people watch it, how the audience reacts to it. But if they're not clicking through it when it is shown, and you can see it's shown with impressions, then what is happening is YouTube is trying. They're like, please watch this content. But people, when they see it, they go, I don't want to click on that. So what happens is YouTube is trying. They're trying desperately to get your content seen. But sometimes you can have a lot of impressions, but a bad click-through rate. So some people see this and they're like, oh, God, this is so much information. I just want to focus on impressions, click-through rate, and views. You can click on these three dots. You can hide metrics. If this seems too much, you can hide metrics to only focus on what you care about. Again, hover over the data point, click on the three dots, and you can hide the metrics so you can only focus on this. I love this workflow because here it is. Impressions. How many people YouTube showed your videos to? And again, for us, this is in the month of January. So they showed it to 2.2 million people. They rounded up, I believe, a little bit earlier, but they showed it there. Of those 2.2 million, 2.3% of those people click through. Again, this is the average of all the content on the channel. That led to 254,000 views. So understand that impressions, YouTube showed the thumbnail, people responded. Click-through rate, impressions click-through rate. Don't forget the impressions part. It's how many people click through when they were seen, when they saw the piece of content. Views are the results of the impressions click-through rate. Now, I see we have some questions. Felicity at home says, if the CTR is higher than average, shouldn't YouTube be creating more impressions on those videos? Well, again, the CTR is one part. I mean, 100% CTR is definitely higher than average, but if it's only because YouTube showed it to one person, no, they shouldn't be creating more impressions. It just showed that YouTube figured out that one right person to suggest that video to. So that's a good question, but it does, just because you have a high CTR doesn't mean that you're gonna get more. The way YouTube calculates this, and trust me, it's a little confusing, but we'll break it through. Let's look at, we showed the overall page. We understand impressions, click-through rate. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, please let us know in the live chat with hashtag helpful, or if you'd like a question, put your question with a hashtag question. It helps me see what you guys are thinking, and it helps me know how to better help. So now I want to go full screen. We looked at the overall channel for January, but let's say I want to know, well, where are these people coming from? Are they coming from search? Are they coming from browse? Are they coming from different places? We can click traffic source. So again, I want to exit out just in case. So under analytics, reach, impressions, click-through rate, see more. And people are wondering, and people say, why do they get lost? After you click see more, traffic source right here. This can take you exactly where you are. People are saying helpful, helpful, seeing a lot of helpful. Makes me feel really good. So yeah, I see a question here. What is the best free app to make thumbnails? I'm going to say TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy's thumbnail generator is available for free. You can download TubeBuddy for free using the link in the description down below. TubeBuddy's thumbnail generator is the default answer I'd give. So just letting you know. People are saying that this is helpful, so very happy to see helpful and happy. That's what happened there. But now we can see where our videos are coming from, where people are coming from, right? Now, one thing I often tell people is that you can have a higher click-through rate for a specific traffic source, right? So our average click-through rate when we, total all these up is 2.3. But if you look here for us at TubeBuddy, we focus on YouTube search. We get a lot of our views from search. And as you see, that is 5.6. So that again is an aggregate of all of the videos we have, but 5.6 is higher than our 2.3 here. If we look at the impressions, well, then we can understand that we got 414 through search, meaning that when people were searching, this is how many times all of the videos on our channel showed up. Meaning that if I understand that, let's say you did keyword research, right? And you're like, I'm not getting any views. Well, it may not be the keyword you had is bad. What might be happening is you're getting impressions, but your thumbnails aren't convincing people to click through. So if you're a search-based channel like us at TubeBuddy, this is an area we want to improve. Obviously, we want to improve everything, but understanding that for us, search is our highest traffic source, which is intentional, shows we're doing what we're trying to do on the channel, but there's room for improvement. The next sources, which if you're ever confused on, hey, what is the source? YouTube lets you, if you hover over here, you hover on this tooltip, search terms used by viewers on YouTube to find your content. Playlist page, traffic from any playlist that includes your video, suggested videos, videos appearing alongside or after other videos. So that watch next or recommended next by YouTube is where suggested comes from. Channel pages, which we do a lot of channel review streams, is traffic from your YouTube channel page. If I were to say any traffic source that people sleep on the most, it is channel page and playlist. Channel page is so important because people don't realize that when they come to your channel, it is an opportunity for them to click on your channel, to watch content from you. And the better laid out your channel is for that new viewer, the more views you can get from your channel page. Now, this even shows the click-through rate when they see it. Again, as we learned, if I were to go to TubeBuddy to explain it, to show it in real time, us being here on the channel for more than a second, looking at all these titles, looking at all this, these videos are getting impressions. But let's say it is 5 things to do after you install TubeBuddy. This is the video I'm interested in. Well, then YouTube will see that, oh, they were looking at this, they clicked on it, boom, that goes into the channel page's views because a user clicked on it from the channel page. So I'm seeing some more stuff here, and it's very important to understand all these traffic sources. I have another question if you're watching live or if you're watching in the replay. What is the traffic source you're trying to get more impressions click-through rate on? Is it search? Is it browse? Is it suggested? Let me know live or in the replay. Also, during this time, I'm going to remind everyone that you can do everything I'm showing within YouTube Analytics thus far for free. This is not even using TubeBuddy. We will use some TubeBuddy features later on, and it's going to be awesome. But remember that all of this is free in YouTube Analytics. There are some things that TubeBuddy can help you see, which we will also show. But all of this right now is so important for you to understand as a creator. It's something that we didn't always have on YouTube. And now that we have it, we can understand it. We can go and help our content go farther. I'm seeing some people say browse. I'm seeing some people say end screens. Some people are saying search. So we have a variety of answers. If they end up on your channel, Beanie says a lot of the work is done. I do agree. I do agree that a lot of the work is done. So this right here, please guide how do I improve my YouTube search rate? We have tons of videos on the Keyword Explorer. This one's diving more into impressions and click-through rate, but mods, if you could definitely help out and link to that. That set is looking great, Rob says. Well, you know what else is a set that looks great? A set of useful information available to all YouTubers on the analytics page. See, I have a segue, Rob. You know me. So one person said they want to get more views through their end screens. This is actually something that you can see down here. Now, this can sometimes traffic from the creator made end screen or another video ad. Sometimes YouTube doesn't have some of these data points, which is a little frustrating. So I saw someone said that they're a large creator from a Facebook group. So traffic from websites and apps embed your video or link. They're not going to tell you your impressions click-through rate. So you can see how many people are coming from that group and external here. But sometimes it's not necessarily going to show exactly as you want. One thing I often tell people is a lot of times they don't understand these graphs. I like the bar graph if you need to see it easier. So this lets you know that, hey, this is your click-through rate. This is your impressions click-through rate, and it shows you which traffic source is driving the most content to your channel. So if you look and hover over, we can see that for search for us is, as I said, driving the most channel. And it's just another visualization way that you can see this data because, again, I understand that it can be there. Why do I only see a few select rows and not what Andrew is seeing? This comes from KM17. As I said a little bit earlier in the stream, you may not have as much data as TubeBuddy has. You may not have all these points, and that's fine. Use the data you do have in analytics and use that to understand. Now, we're wanting to know, right? I said earlier that we are going to be focusing, we now know which traffic source. Again, share which traffic source for you right now has the most impressions click-through rate. Again, for us, it's search, but I'm curious what it is for you watching, meaning the highest percentage. Now, the playlist page, if we look, this looks 2.5, 62,000 impressions. This could be also coming from channel pages. Look at how many people make it to the TubeBuddy YouTube channel. That's almost 1 million people who have seen our channel. I'm seeing suggested, I'm seeing browse, I'm seeing a lot of other different things. I see from the Curious Coder, 300K people in our Facebook group. I never really had the confidence to ask people to watch my stuff. Plus, the group was about YouTube, and my channel is tech how-to videos. And that might be a good thing not to share. Now, I see from here, I am Takizo says that they have 26.2%. What is your amount of impressions? Because while that 26.2% looks impressive, we want to make sure the impressions back that up. I'm seeing a lot of people say YouTube search. So we're getting a bunch of different, things you can see. The next thing I want to do is we can go back to the line chart. And again, we will have timestamps, folks. I understand this can be a little confusing. We're right here with you. That's what we're here at TubeBuddy to do. If you're enjoying this content and you aren't already, please consider subscribing. It really helps out this channel, and we appreciate everyone watching live, all the questions coming in. It's really good. So the Curious Coder says, I have a great CTR, but as he's saying, I got to boost my impressions. Exactly, because again, you can have 100% CTR with one impression. It doesn't mean anything. It's when it's at scale. If you have 10 million impressions and you have a 10% click-through rate, now that's impressive. That's where we get excited. And I get excited about this topic because it's understanding something that people get so lost in. It doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to feel this way. And let's break it down video by video, in fact, because this is where we get excited. This is where I can show off some fun TubeBuddy features that can help this. So there's one way you can do and see individual videos is to go back to the video page. Then, you can click on, I want to see which videos has the most impressions. So we have some here, how to find video topics for free. We have get more views. We have free YouTube year reviews. These have some pretty high impression numbers, I should say, not click-through rate. So I want to look at our recent 500K celebration. Now, again, this is this individual video page, but a lot of you might be like, I don't know if I'll remember how to get there. Trust me, I understand how confusing it is to navigate YouTube analytics. It can be daunting. Trust me, it took me years to navigate this. And again, they change it all the time. So if we go to the content page, this is where TubeBuddy helps us out, right? If there's a video you want to see how it's doing, how its impressions are, how it's performing, that is where you can really use TubeBuddy to help you get to the data you care about quickly using our quick links. Now, I might need to refresh. Oh, of course, right when I hit the refresh, my impatience would be my downfall there. So, you know the video you want to see more information about. Right here, this video, how to grow 500,000 subscribers. Well, if you hover over it, you can see the YouTube tools. You may also see this familiar TubeBuddy icon. This is one of my favorite things on all of YouTube because I love TubeBuddy, genuinely. Now, you might be like, how do I get to those analytics? You click on quick links, and you can then break it down. You can go to playback locations. You can go to traffic sources. So if you want to see where people are coming from on an individual video, do not worry. We go here, shows the reach, impressions, click-through rate, see more, traffic source. Now, in the future, maybe we redirect people here. You guys can let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. But now we can look, again, I'll go back to the video. Understand it might be a little, I go fast. On the videos page, as we did before, reach, impressions, click-through rate, see more. Then we go to traffic source. Again, I know I go fast, but I'm making sure I'm slowing down. The Curious Ghost says, I get impatient with it, talking about A/B testing. I don't want to wait till Friday. Tell me now. Again, we have to collect data. So it's one of those situations where I understand. Trust me. If there's one thing I'm not the biggest fan of, and let me know how you feel. I don't like waiting for data. I'm not here like, oh man, patience is the virtue I want. But trust me, that is what you want. What is the minimum CTR recommendation? Again, average is 2 to 10%. You want impressions, not just CTR. That's why YouTube calls it impressions click-through rate. Speaking of impressions click-through rate, let's go full screen. On an individual video, you can see the different traffic sources. You can see how many impressions they were driving to this video, right? So this video, actually, YouTube was pushing very heavily in browse, meaning that early on, enough people watched it to where YouTube's like, you know what? Let's keep trying to show this. Again, browse also can be your subscription feed. It can be your homepage. Browse is a lot of different traffic sources. So what this means and what I'm seeing is YouTube tried showing this to more people in browse, and it got a pretty average click-through rate. In the playlist page, this is actually doing well, but again, it's got about 2,000 impressions, meaning 2,000 people saw it. And the YouTube search, 9,000 people saw this, so 6.2% click-through, meaning that this led to 920 views, at least in search. And again, we can understand all the different sources. And again, some of these, like external, right? 197, we don't know how many people click through. Video cards and annotations, only 2. Notifications, meaning that when people saw it on their phone, we had 842 views. We don't know the impressions, though. So this is where you can really understand how an individual video performed. And let's say, again, people were saying that they want to do well in search. Well, this is where you would check how that video is performing. YouTube will default this to since published. So here's the thing. If you want to do better in search, because I saw a lot of people saying they want to do better in search, what is the amount of impressions? This so far has gotten 9,000 impressions, meaning that 9,000 people have seen this in search. Of those 9,000 people, 6.2% click through, leading to about 920. Now, some people may be like, wait a minute, this math isn't adding up. YouTube isn't exactly 100:1 in the data. They don't show everything. Some of it is still being calculated, etc., etc. There's a delay in analytics. However, it is still important. So I see some questions coming in. Beanie, it wasn't a lot easier in 2018. It was actually a lot harder. We're flying blind on a lot of data. I'll challenge you. The more data we have, the easier it is. Now, knowing that the data may not match what we feel in our hearts, and that is something I want to take a moment to just focus on. Sometimes you can spend hours working on a thumbnail, and when people see it in masses, they don't interact. They don't click through the way we want. That doesn't mean the art is bad. You can enjoy it. But what you have to understand is that if you want more views, sometimes that pride hit we have to take. I've spent hours on thumbnails. I'm like, this is great. This is going to get 0.2%. What? And I get that frustration. It is the hardest thing on YouTube when you spend hours pouring your heart and soul into a piece of content, be it a thumbnail, be it a video, be it the SEO, etc., and you don't get the results you want. There's 2 things you can do. You get mad, deny it, or you can try to fix it. I'm in the camp of trying to fix it. Let me know, do you try to fix it or do you just get frustrated? And there's no wrong answers. If you're getting frustrated, though, let's work on ways we can fix this. While there, I am seeing some of questions. If you find your CTR is low, so you change your thumbnail, how long should you wait to see if the change was beneficial? You can do that. Depends how often you're changing your thumbnail. There's a lot of variables. What I would say is compare week to week performance. if you don't have TubeBuddy's A/B testing, which if you have A/B testing can help. But what I'm saying is I would give it a week, look at how it's performed, compare it to the week before. Now, some people may say you can tell usually in the first 3 to 4 days if it starts tanking. Really observe. If you're changing a thumbnail, you got to be observant and you got to stay on top of it, because I've seen thumbnails when people make a change, immediately it picks up. And some thumbnails, it stayed average, and then falls off a cliff. Be vigilant, be watching. What I would say is if we go back to the analytics, and I do like that question, I see that Detroit Lions on the prowl says they're frustrated. Again, no shame in that. And just keep working. I see that from Shadab Shahir. If I could speak Hindi, I would, but I cannot, so I do apologize on that. And the Curious Coder says, write down the date, change it, and don't forget it like me. Now, here's the thing, right? I am doing well. Thank you for the love. Love to you as well. So, what I would say is if you know that you're trying to get more views and a different traffic source, you also have to remember, if you change your thumbnail, if you're doing great in search, and then you change your thumbnail and search starts plummeting, then you might be upset. But let's say it starts doing well in search, but then your browse, which is what you're targeting, starts going up. Watch the data, see how many people are going through. So what I would say is make sure. I see from Christie's Corner, should you use thumbnails for shorts? I've heard mixed messages. I've seen a lot of success from creators using thumbnails on shorts. I've seen some who don't. For me, I've seen higher averages of success with the thumbnails, so I would say yes. But again, it's so new. There's not a lot of definitive data. Hopefully that does help answer your question, though. So now that we kind of understand impressions, click-through rate, Andrew, how can we improve it, right? What can we do as creators? One of the things you can do is create a new thumbnail. And again, I understand that frustration. I understand you can put your heart and soul into it. What I'm seeing here is that this impressions click-through rate, YouTube showed it to a lot of people, 127,000, 3% click-through. I then need to break down, okay, where are the views coming from? I've done this. We go to traffic source again. We want to see where all the views are coming from. Don't know why my mouse is being a little delayed. Might need to put it on the charger real quick. But, we went to traffic source. You can see per day where it's coming from. How do I change this? How do I get better? Well, there's a couple ways. You can always make multiple versions of thumbnails. I tell people this all the time. If you are creating content, one thing I'd recommend is let's talk about what makes a good thumbnail. A good thumbnail is when people see it in an impression, they click through, and then they watch through. Now, the thumbnail and titles job is only to get people to click. If they don't watch, that's the content itself, right? That's a whole different beast. That's a whole nother battle. But understanding this piece of crucial information is very important, right? So I like this thumbnail. I think it looks great. It may not have performed as well as we want. Now, there's a couple ways we can kind of understand what has done well for us. We're going to go back to general analytics. And this is what you can do for free before we go into TubeBuddy. We're going to go to reach. We are here. We are in our impressions click-through rate. We're going to click see more. And what I want to do, I want to see what has performed historically well, click-through rate with a good amount of impressions, right? So let's go click on impressions so that we can see which one gets the most first. We can actually choose this data range. Let's choose 90 days. So again, we're going through a lot. We're seeing a lot of data. I know this can be confusing. Follow with me. I promise we're going to get to this. So what I want to look at is how to get started with TubeBuddy, right? Well, this click-through rate looks bad, but how many views did it lead to? 44,000. Well, of the 183,000 people that saw this, 44,000 views is pretty good. So what I want to understand is when it was shown to people, yes, this may look low, but this is one part of the story. This is one of the few times where I want to see how many impressions and how many views did it lead to. Now, this one, the views per, the amount of people it showed to, this impression is pretty low. I may not look at the D and Daniel thumbnail, but I look at the free YouTube year in review. I look at this 2.5%, 191,000. Okay, it led to 12,000 views. It's not bad. Some people sort by the views here because they want to know this is just an easier way. But again, sometimes if you look at the do more with TubeBuddy Pro, right? 112 impressions, it's gotten a lot of views. Well, I know how that video is doing that. Similar here, right? Look at the impressions. So this one, right? YouTube channel keywords. The solution, add Rob Balasabas to all the TubeBuddy thumbnails, jokes. But 70,000 impressions, 10% click-through rate. This style kind of works. 129,000, 2% click-through rate, 10,000 views. So this style is working well. So you kind of look at a theme, right? Bright colors, and graphics front and center. Similar situation, bright colors, graphics front and center, 10,000 views, good impressions. Similar things with the other Dan Daniel thumbnail here, right? And we're noticing patterns in our thumbnails. Identify those patterns in here. I'm going to take you a step beyond. If you're not doing this, it can be game-changing, folks. This is going from basics to intermediate. Let's do it. If you know and you want to do your own A/B tests, you can add in YouTube Analytics. If you go to compare to, you can make a group. You can do first 24-hour periods. There's some YouTube one. Compare select periods, right? So I can choose custom, right? I can do side by side. I can see how stuff is compared, right? So let's say I want to see in the last 90 days compared to another period of time. You can compare your own analytics, folks. What I like doing is I like grouping my content. You go to compare to groups. Let's say there's a topic on my channel I care about. What is the topic you care about? So for us, it's free, right? We love talking about free TubeBuddy tools. So if I click a bunch of these, it's going to show us free stuff. I can compare all of the free videos, right? You can do this and group your topics by subject, and you can find in this group which videos have the highest thumbnail. So you can take it from random data and customize it, right? I think we have enough for the point if I keep adding more. So here is where we're going from okay to what for some people, right? So we can see different videos, we can see different groups, we can see the recent, we can search across the entire channel. I do not know why my group didn't save. Okay, of course, when you try doing it live, it might be it's untitled group, although I didn't name it this, but whatever. We'll call it free tube. Actually, I didn't. That's my bad. I take full fault. We'll call this free TubeBuddy videos, right? Hit save, and here's the beauty, right? What I love about this comparison feature is if I want to see how the channel did overall compared to the free, right? We can understand where this is going. We can do views by video. We can do side by side. We can do multi-metric. So multi-metric shows, this is the top, this is the bottom. So we can understand if we scroll down how our free videos are doing, right? So if we want to see which of videos that are of a specific keyword or specific target, you can. So here, again, now I can, this is free from YouTube. I'm sorry, I get so excited. I love talking data and I love grouping because now, okay, we went from, I see all this analytics. What about the videos I care about? If there's a topic, if it's Beanie who draws dinosaurs and he wants to know how his Indominus Rex drawings does, he can group them and see how they're doing. If you are a cooking channel and you cook cakes, Nick Nimmin, you keep cooking them cakes, and you want to see your cake recipes all in one place, you group them together. What kind of content do you want to group together on your own channel? Let us know in the live stream or the replay. But yes, grouping your content together is so invaluable to go deeper, to take that next step. Again, we went in the basics. We understand impressions, click-through rate. Now we're tracking on a higher level. You and me, us at TubeBuddy against the YouTube world. So let's keep going. I'm having fun, and I hope you are too. I'm sorry, I just get so passionate about this. So I see from 3D printer creation, for me, it would be the differentiation between lasers and 3D printers. And again, you can make groups for each and compare. Brendan Sparks says it's so simple, but so crucial. Again, it is so important. I see from Nutritionist, I just brought a pro license last week. I did learn a lot about keywords. I do rank quite good for a few of them now. Congratulations. That is half the battle. And again, you can group. You can see what you're doing. And folks, it gets better. Yeah, but wait, there's more. You can, instead of views by videos, there are some different. If you want to see impressions, click-through rate. Come up here. We sort. Then notice how it's focusing on our impressions, click-through rate, and how it led to views. You can see we can compare overall. We can do free tools to pro tools. You can do groups to groups. There's so much you can do. It is such a cool feature that I love utilizing. I love comparing different kinds of videos. So if you're ever like, what videos do better on my channel? Compare them in groups. But what if you're like, okay, I've done the group comparison. I know there's some thumbnails I need to change. What can I do? Well, first, if you've made it this far, either in the replay or the live, let me know. Love seeing how many people have been watching from the beginning. But second, next part does require paid TubeBuddy. We're pretty much leaving the free start. So I just want to put this disclaimer. A lot of what we showed is free on YouTube. This next part, we're going to use TubeBuddy. We're going to elevate it. We're going to go deeper because that's where we can find some success points. That's what I'm excited to do. And folks, let's go ahead and go deeper. So I see some people have left. I understand. Please stay by. I promise. Still here from the beginning. Been seeing a lot of great things. Congratulations on Paul Peck Drywall Tube. Recently reached 150K. But to focus on some of the TubeBuddy functionality you can get. Closing analytics, folks. Clicking on the drop-down menu, we're going to click on Click Magnet. You may have heard us talk about Click Magnet. It is a great set of features. I love this tool set. There's a free trial link there. If you haven't had it already, you can try a free trial of TubeBuddy Legend, 30 days. There's also other ways. You can join our Discord. Mods, please, 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 please. Put a link to the Discord server. There's ways you can earn free TubeBuddy in our Discord server. There's ways you can earn it by following us on socials. There's ways you can earn it by being in our community forum. We do our best to give back. If you feel like we've given back to you, given you some knowledge, all I ask is a simple share. Let's get more people in here. Let's get excited about impressions click-through rate. I saw frustration before. We're taking that frustration into fixing it because 1 second, folks, I have a gag and I've been waiting to use it. Folks, TubeBuddy is a set of tools that helps you on your road to YouTube success. Let's get out some of these tools. Apparently, my tool of choice is a hammer. Let's hammer through some of these problems together. I'm having a lot of fun. It's a really good live for me, and I'm excited, and I hope it's been good for you. Oh, boy. Here we go. People said, oh, no. I love the faith that the audience has. But let's click on Click Magnet. Let's click on Get Started. Let's get this process, this party starting. So, as you see, Click Magnet is loading. Folks, Click Magnet is a game changer. If you found that YouTube analytics bit very confusing, I understand. We've made it very simple with Click Magnet. What we do here at Click Magnet with TubeBuddy is we take your last 50 videos, 50, your last 50. We break it down into sections, and we help give data to help our points. If you want to know in your last 50 videos which one did best in each traffic source, you can choose traffic source and notice it shows you your click-through rate, shows you your watch time. If you're wondering where we're getting these metrics, I understand. We have it right here. You click here. You'll go to the analytics page. You'll see right where we're pulling for YouTube metrics. As you can see, me and Rob right now, we're doing very well in search, doing well in external. Rob, you and me. That's all it's all about, apparently. Next, we have, we can choose. I saw people wanting to know how they can do better in suggested. Well, let's look at those thumbnails that have done well in suggested, right? So this has a good click-through rates, but let's look. Some of them click-through rate may not be good, but it's still pretty high in suggested, right? This is where you can dive deeper, look deeper on an individual video basis. I think Andrew's gone rogue, says Staku in the chat. Maybe just a little. I'm just really excited here. Next, we have his browse feature. I saw people were interested in doing better in browse. Again, you can do a lot of this manually, but it can take time. And this is just ways that you can save that time. Next, we have Element Inspector. I love this. So we are actually testing which does better, videos with faces or no faces. I am right now, because the overwhelming data is saying no face, but we also have more videos here. So make sure you have more points. We're testing. We are not above testing. Look, I understand my face isn't for everyone. Maybe it's not for everyone when we show content. Maybe it is. With data, we can make better decisions. Don't run from it. Don't get frustrated. Let's fix it. So here we know. We know that this data is showing us that right now we're going to try to get this to 25. It says, no, the sample size is low because we only have 3 thumbnails not containing my face. That's fine. We're still testing it. Next, we have emotions. What emotions do well? Well, happy seems to do pretty well for us. Some of it, calm, we only have 5. It looks better, but we only have 5 videos, so it's less data. So again, understanding you can test. I've seen some creators where they do a face that's like their click-through rate with their impression click-through rate can be impressions like 10 million. I saw someone with a 12 million impressions and a 10% click-through rate just by having a surprise face. And when he A/B tested, he tried like a smiley face. Boom! It cut so deep because people would get the same amount of impressions, but they weren't clicking through. So if you see a YouTuber that does the YouTube face, it might just be the data, man. Data doesn't care about our feelings, and sometimes the data is in. Next, we have size. I know at TubeBuddy, you guys want to see me as far away as possible. I'm not mad. I just want to talk. So apparently at TubeBuddy, you guys prefer when I go further back. Prefer when I'm farther away. We have the visual to help you understand what's the difference. These are some film terms. People at TubeBuddy prefer when I'm far away. No shame. That is a brutal beast. Amen, Beanie. Can we get an amen for Beanie? Next, this is useful for some cooking channels. I know that we had I'll Eat More Vegans here in the chat. Hey, you ever wondered, does text or no text do better in my thumbnail? Use your data. Let it speak. It'll show you. For us, we kind of have tools with text on them, so there's no real way not to have text in the thumbnail. But I digress. Next, what I love is word and titles. So channel, when we talk about channel, it does well. When we talk about earn, can, help, you, tags, all these different things. You can see how they come together, how they bring forth good content, how they are using things. So I see from Meditation, Power, and Lattes of going through, they're saying that sometimes their tags still do not show as being ranked on their video. If they don't show as being ranked, they're not ranking. It is that simple. Now, why are they not ranking? Could be the keywords you're targeting are too competitive. Could be that the barrier to entry for the keyword term is too high. We'll have the moderators link a video that can help you understand the keyword scores in so much. I see from Relax Boss, Ramya's Art Hacks. Oh my God, too much information. One video, headache. Phoebe Tone, don't worry. That's why we have the replay. You're welcome to the soothing sounds of Andrew Can. We're slowing it down and enjoying a reminder, breathe. This is a lot of information. It doesn't have to be daunting. Let's just take a moment, take a sip of water, and remember to breathe. We've breathed. That was our relaxing moment together because Relax Boss was in the house. Had to show the boss what's up. Going back here, let's go full screen. He's gone off. Now I have to upgrade, says 3D print creator. My apologies. Well, awesome. CTR opportunities, as I did say, or click magnet, as I should say, is a legend level feature. However, we do have the free trial link at the bottom for all of you. Next, I love this section. If you're like, man, I know my videos are good. Where are my impressions and click-through rate? I've seen frustration, folks. This is what I love. This lets you know, hey, the video is performing well, and when we mean performing well, we mean it's getting good views, it's getting good watch time, it's getting all the things YouTube needs. But man, the thumbnail's holding it back. That's can be what happens. And so understanding when is a good thumbnail, we give you a very high opportunity, meaning that if we create an A/B test, which you can do by clicking here, you can, click here, create an A/B test. Now, I understand this can be daunting. Let's run through this A/B test together. There's two kind of tests we run. If you're new to A/B testing, I say go here. A/B testing requires legend. I want a disclaimer, free trial link in the description down below. Lots of ways to earn. Go here. Click on thumbnail CTR test. Choose a set number of days. What's the difference? Well, let's say you have a video that you want to test for the next month, a new thumbnail. Choose 30 days, let it go. Another test is, I want to know with data if thumbnail A is better than thumbnail B. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to know. I love using the data option, but for simplicity, let's choose set number of days. You can even schedule this. So let's say this video is unlisted. Your video goes live on Fridays and you want to start testing the 13th. The 13th at midnight, it's going to go live. We can choose that. I'm running through this with you. We're running a test together. Then you can choose your thumbnails. Maybe you have a different kind of thumbnail, right? So this is the find video topics. Maybe we have a different thumbnail, maybe not. So maybe that is something we can consider doing an A/B test. We know that this is a great one, right? So we can look how to find better performing thumbnails. You can see we have A and B versions here on a lot of features. So this gives you an opportunity. I'm just going to quickly choose one for this video because, oh, that one's too big. My apologies. My thumbnail's too big. But we're actually running a test for this, so I'm not going to go ahead and choose this. But that's how you can quickly set up an A/B test. We can go into the manage and see some of the tests we're running. You guys can see what we're doing. As I said earlier, sometimes not having you in the thumbnail can do better. For us, look at this has way more impressions, has a much higher click-through rate. And hey, that is actually, if we look at the data, when I'm in the thumbnail. So sometimes the data, we're still collecting. We still have some cycles here, but we may have a surge later on. You got to run tests. You got to know. For us, seems like having me in it is overall doing a little better, but we want to test more. So again, run tests, see what works best, and don't be afraid of the data. You run tests on any that have high. Now, some of these, they may just not have the performance. Like if we scroll down here, some of them may have bad performance, meaning that even when people click on it, they're not really watching it. So that could just mean the video is not performing well. There's a lot of factors to take in here, folks. But if you want it in CSV format, there is this. You can choose and compare your content, how it did out of the gate over 48 hours, the first 7 days. You can test. You can see, I want to see how many videos got 10,000 impressions in the first 7 days, right? Well, these videos got at least 10,000 impressions, meaning YouTube showed it to 10,000 people. You can then say, I want to see how many videos got 100,000 people in the first week. This one did. And you can change. You can see, I want to see how many videos of mine got 100,000 impressions in the first 30 days. And you can see how the data changes. You can see how your videos perform in a 30-day range. Here we can see 21 videos in the first 30 days YouTube showed to over 100,000 people. And again, it lets you extend. Now, I know you all have questions. I've got some answers. I got to choose carefully. I've been answering questions throughout. What are some questions you may have about impressions, click-through rate? I'm all ears. I'm ready to help, ready to answer, and thank you. If you've been watching the stream all the way through, I know a lot of you have. I see, having a little bit of issues with my chair because I'm too passionate. What the heck? Get better chairs is what I'm hearing. There we go. Much better. As I struggle with my chair, what are your questions? How can we run old videos? Our impressions and CTR are correlated. They are tied together. So you can't have click-through rate without impressions. You can have impressions without click-through rate, but you can gain impressions. You can have a 0% click-through rate. It's kind of sad, but it can happen. Again, people keep asking, what is a strong number of CTR for videos? Depends on the amount of impressions. That's going to keep being the answer. Again, you can have 100% CTR with one impression. So on paper, that looks great, but only one person saw the video. It matters impressions. You want good impressions and you want a good click-through rate. You want to be an average, ideally above average. You want to be between that 2 to 10%. You want to be on the higher, closer to the 10, more than the 2. Look at how many impressions you have. What times a day do the most popular YouTube sob softly to themselves? They don't sob softly to themselves. They sob to the audience that they're not getting the content in their sub boxes. When in reality, it could just be, it is getting out there. Look at the impressions. I had to swallow my pride on that too. I used to say sub boxes are broken. I looked at impressions and, oh, wait, they're not. People just don't want to click through. It's a hard pill to swallow. So this is an interesting question. Waleed Higgins, can we bring old videos back to life with new SEO data? Depends if you how much SEO data you're changing, depends if that video is actually able to be revivable. Some people try to shoehorn SEO in, meaning that that video really never was about the new SEO they made. It depends, but it is possible to bring new life with more clarity and a better thumbnail. So yes, it's possible. Doesn't mean it's easy. What is a suitable time to get into the algorithm? Really, I think 3:30 a.m. There's no suitable time. You can get into the algorithm technically at any time. If you're earning impressions, you're already in one of the many YouTube algorithms. How to be successful in it? That's improving your impressions click-through rate. Look at the data, see where you're at, see what you can do better. If my videos are low quality, does that affect my click-through rate? It can. It just depends on what you're defining as low quality. I mean, it could be low quality in terms of technically. Sometimes that doesn't matter. A lot of times people can forgive bad technical quality if the audio is solid. Sometimes it can just be that the video really doesn't convince people it's about the subject. So depending what you mean, yes, but also no. That's 90% of YouTube, I feel. Yes, but no, but yes. Super new here. What is your advice to noobs? You're doing a gaming channel. Focus on a franchise you love in or a genre. FPS is a genre. MOBAs are a genre. Make sure that it makes sense whatever you're building your audience. If you're starting with Cooking Mama content and you've done Cooking Mama every game, and all of a sudden one day you're like, I'm a Call of Duty channel now. Well, I came for Cooking Mama. I'm not here for your Call of Duty content. Remember what you're telling people you're here for. It does matter. Yes, but no, but yes. Correct, Ike. And that is definitely what I would say is probably one of the hardest things to remember. And sometimes YouTube doesn't give you the answers you want. Sometimes it gives you the answers that are sometimes the truth hurts. But that is what it is. You know what else hurts? Having to say goodbye. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. Thank you all so much for your time. I'm Andrew Camp from TubeBuddy. Try that free trial link today, and I hope you have a great day.